clearly we have to look at all aspects of what we do in terms of granting licenses and tenure, training, etc. of teachers. That there is no doubt. But the reason I'm opposed to what's happening now is this is tinkering around the edges. If we're really going to fix what needs to be fixed in public education and maintain all that is good, and there is much that is good, then what we need to do is stop talking about getting rid of bad teachers in a vacuum because there was a national article in Newsweek. We have to stop talking about teacher jail in L.A. when, in fact, if you looked at teacher jail in L.A., of those 130 teachers, most have been exonerated already by the police or the district attorney, and it's the school district that's dragging their feet and giving these people back their positions. So I think we need to say no to this and sit down together and talk about and revamp the whole system, from the way in which we incentivize people going into colleges and allowing them out of education programs, to how we make the campuses like Markham clean, safe, healthy environments that people want to go into. Harvard did an interactive study, and they found out from teachers that it's not salary that's number one on the list to send teachers to hard-to-staff schools. It's a safe, clean, healthy environment with true administrative backup and support, particularly in terms of student discipline. So, I mean, let's push this aside and really start working together to make a difference and change the education system. This discussion is in a vacuum because the turnover rate at Charles Drew and at Markham is appalling year after year after year because of the fact that these are not safe, clean, healthy environments for students to learn in and for teachers to teach in. And I would suggest that should be a primary focus. Two issues. One, having gotten the agreement from Randy Weingarten, I will be pressing Julie Washington, UTLA elementary vice president, chair of our negotiating team, with one of our lawyers to take this issue up and deal with it immediately. The other is kind of a rhetorical point, which I think is good for this committee to think about in terms of LA Unified. Now that we know that in certain circumstances, the most egregious, teachers can be suspended without pay, one must ask, why didn't LA Unified do that in a few of the most egregious cases? Was it perhaps for sensational value? I don't know, but that was irreprehensible. And I want to make it clear for UTLA, nobody in UTLA stands up for or agrees to wanting to have a teacher who has done something illegal or immoral in that classroom or on that school site or in the profession. Running through this discussion is an unspoken sentence that goes kind of like, new teachers are good teachers, veteran teachers are bad teachers.
No.
And that's very problematic. No. As far as looking at how we do RIFs, that's, of course, based upon evaluations. And I would suggest that, once again, we have the cart before the horse. If we don't change the entire evaluation system and the way in which we recruit teachers and train them throughout their careers, then we're just giving a tool to, in far too many cases, an untrained administrator who, in all likelihood, has very little time to do his or her primary job, which is to help a teacher get better when they need that. So we're not dealing with that issue, and that's important. It's also important to point out, and while I appreciate Senator Alquist's remarks, I don't represent the entire state. I represent Los Angeles Unified, which is a big part of the state. So I'll just look at that issue. In Los Angeles, as you well know, we had the Rodriguez consent decree, which required schools to look at their spending patterns based upon the seniority of teachers, if you will. To get a good, healthy mix of new teachers, mid-career teachers, and veterans. I would change old teachers to veteran teachers. And it worked to a certain degree. The consent decree went away, but the district memorialized in one of their documents that they should continue that policy, and they chose not to. So one has to ask, has this been a crisis in part that has been manufactured? And finally, I'll say that my general counsel just passed me this, that according to subparagraph D of section 44955, it permits employers to deviate from strict seniority and skip over teachers who possess training and experience that are required to teach special course or courses of study. So we do already have that within the body of Ed Code. I would end by saying, you and I disagree, my friend. I think that this is tinkering, and I think you and this committee and my union and CTA and CFT and administrators across the state owe it to the students of this state to do nothing less than transform the entire system from top to bottom, not just evaluations, not just RIFs, but funding. Because we all know the primary problem in education in California is, since Prop 13, we do not have a steady, stable funding source for our schools, and that needs to be addressed too. I would ask, courtesy of the chair, I'm going to take just a moment to mention a couple of things, and I would like to give a moment to Ms. Weingarten, the president of the American Federation of Teachers. First off, I'd like to thank Senator Weiland for the remarks he made about the difficult job that teachers and health and human service professionals go through in doing our work. And I would urge this committee in its thinking, and everyone else, and the chair knows I've said this publicly and privately. I've lost some hair over it, and we'll probably lose some more. Unless teachers are included in a meaningful way in these dialogues, then no reform that this committee or this House or any other comes up with is going to be meaningful or lasting. Let me point to the Teacher Effectiveness Task Force in Los Angeles. We had very few teachers there by design. We had some union representatives, but very few classroom teachers, again, by design. And I would like to point out that a full month before the recommendations came out, school board members and senior staff from the district were up here lobbying people on this bill. So where is the collaboration between the legislature, the district, and the practitioners and the schools in the field to bring meaningful change? And I'll say it one more time, and then I would like to turn it over to Randy. If you don't start including teachers and other education professionals in this dialogue, and thereby helping to craft a new change for public education, then we are just going down the same old road in the same old direction, and we will get lost once again. Thank you.